Welcome to the session 3, how to edit and build content areas in this 6-week series. Again, Melissa, Dagne, we all know each other by now, but just for those viewers who might not have joined us live, I'm sharing my screen, and on the left-hand side, I've got that asynchronous resource that I'm building along the way. And it's going to walk us through what we're going to talk about, but I'm really going to show you just like a high-level overview of some thoughts. Most of you are going to already know this stuff, so I don't want it to take a lot of our time, and then we can get into more conversations about how you might need to think about editing and building your content, which may be different than what I am about to share. So last week, after the organizations and settings session, I went into the demo course and I renamed files and I cleaned up some stuff, right? I did that homework piece. And then I copied it into both my sandbox and my academic shell demonstration. So I've got both of those set up from last week's stuff to move forward with today. So just to keep that in mind that I did that. So that's that secret sort of hidden work. And today is really, I was using this session to teach the people who haven't used Canvas more of these basics, what the rich content editor can do and how you can control editing and building content. So if you're not familiar with it, Canvas, your Canvas course is a website, and it's giving you a what you see is what you get way to put stuff on the internet for students to see or do without having to know how to code, in this sort of complex ways of what's happening behind the scenes. So the rich content editor is the feature that lets you do some of that really cool stuff and put multimedia on the page and make those links without having to know how to do the code. So what I want to show you is the syllabus section. So I'm going to split my screen with my sandbox on one side and the academic shell on the other. So those of you who are working on a May course, which I believe is everyone, you're going to be in this space with more specifics, and you're going to be doing this once. And that's really a great thing, instead of having to get started in the sandbox and move into your academic shell later. Just working over here really is easier. So I'm going to click on syllabus because it is the first link listed underneath home. And over here in my sandbox, it's not, because it's not the same, but gets me to the same place. And you're going to have this information that you're going to want to click the edit button and use this rich content editor to clean this up. So all of this learn more, your students are not going to care about that, and you might not either. So you're just going to want to use your delete button. And you'll notice I deleted a link and my cursor still looks red. Might be hard for you to see, but it's still there. It's got some residual code that it's holding onto. And if I click delete one more time, it turns black. It's just a little trick of Canvas. When you delete a hyperlink, you can either put your cursor in it and say remove the link, or you want to make sure you delete until your cursor turns black. So otherwise, you're going to get some stuff left over when you save the page. So I'm going to do just a little cleanup here. My syllabus is still going to explain my course expectations, but if I was the actual instructor, I might want to add some more text here, and you just would type that in. And then this course syllabus and schedule, I want to change this to be the link to my actual syllabus that I have in the file structure. So I'm going to remove what's here and delete this page. And my cursor is still showing red, even though I did remove link and I just caught this. So I'm going to click delete again, because that is just one of the annoying things of working with a WYSIWYG system. Sometimes it holds on to things that you've done after you change your mind. So I'm going to insert a document, and I'm going to choose course document here. And when I come back into the space, I'm going to just use the file search. Oops, I'm going to spell correctly to find all the syllabus that are in here. So the UIW sample, I'm not going to need this, but I am going to want to choose between this syllabus and schedule document or the PDF. because what's going to be on your academic course shell space is the sample outline. So I'm going to use this PDF right here, and I'm going to click update. And you're going to see that it's not showing. So it's just going to have the link and the preview option. If you want, and students can click to download, if you want it to show on the page like you had in the academic shell blueprint piece, just click link options and choose to preview in line with an expand preview by default. And when you do these options, that's where you'll save the page and it's going to show up. If it doesn't right away, just give it a moment. It takes a little bit to load. Then your syllabus is going to show here on the page for students to see it. So you've got control over how it behaves. The second part, let's see, in this lovely list of things to do is to look at announcements. So I'm going to click on announcements, and I'm just going to stay working in my demo area here, just because, one place it all is going to look the same. You're going to notice I copied over all of the announcements from that Blackboard space in case there was some that we want to reuse. If you find something you want to reuse, all you have to do is click the, let's scroll down and find one. Maybe you want to click welcome here. You click the title, open it up, and you'll be able to edit. And it's going to show you if something's broken. Maybe it didn't come over in the copy process. Maybe I lost this image and I want to figure out, what I want to put in its place, or I just want to simply delete it and clean it up and I'm not going to reuse it. But that broken stuff will show up. Look for any references to dates or times that are obviously every calendar year going to change. And then you can also change the editing here. So if you'll notice my two different formats in my text, I can select all this information, and then in my options on the toolbar, I can clear the formatting and make it back to default. And I can do the same down here. And I can basically get myself to the default way that it looks. Now you're going to notice they still aren't the same. Well, for some reason, this paragraph was default to 10 point, and this one was default to 12. I can't even begin to tell you how that happens. It's just the way Blackboard had something in it, and the way Canvas is interpreting, they don't match. So just pay attention to those types of things and edit everything as you see fit. Maybe I want to make my numbered list actually go down the page. Maybe I don't. And Control Z, I can undo what I was doing, and all is good. Now, don't forget you've got ways to control your announcement behavior at the bottom. You can delay posting. It's going to have last year's date. I'm going to want to move this forward a year and change it to May 3rd, potentially, if last year was the 4th and I wanted to still do it on Monday, or maybe I'm moving it to the 7th. Really, whatever day you want to welcome your students to class, set that, and then make sure that you've published and released your course for students to access it to match. So I'm just going to put in the 3rd at 9 o'clock and say done. And I've got some other options. I can allow users to comment or like. You can do these things or not, and then save. Then I'm going to come back. I can use my breadcrumb up at the top to click announcements, or I can just go right back using the course navigation. And I can select and delete if they are ones I do not want to use. So this particular welcome, this is the one that came with my blueprint template. I already have a welcome. This is not going to get used. I'm going to just delete it, and students will never see it. And it tells you at the top if you were successful or if an error occurred. Sometimes in web browsing, errors can occur, and you just need to refresh your page with the little circle arrow, and then maybe try again. Just can be a little weird. Okay, so that about covers it for announcements. Same concept going over to discussions. You can do the exact same thing. You can choose to delete them, or you can copy them if you want to duplicate and make more than one. It's your blueprint's going to come with the Q&A and introduce yourself. If you decide not to use them, if you, instead of deleting, I would just recommend hiding them. And that's just to avoid the blueprint wanting to put those back as you move forward throughout the semester. So there is that banner system is talking to Canvas 4 times a day, and it could potentially say, oh, this course lost its Q&A and it needs it back. So just leave it sitting there unused and hide it. Again, you can click the title and then edit and go in and make changes to this area. You can allow threaded replies or take them away. So threaded replies are going to be unlimited nesting, whereas if you don't have threaded replies, it's just going to be this topic and straight replies down the page. So it's totally up to you on how you want that to behave, as well as the rest of these choices. I will tell you, if you didn't use graded and group projects this semester and you are using them in the summer, you want to create your groups first, put students in those groups, and then go and do your graded and group settings at that time to save any graded assignments. And we're going to talk about graded assignments next week even more. So we can, talk about it further at that point. But just to let you know, unlike Blackboard, Canvas will not prompt students to sign up for that group in the workflow of an assignment, whereas Blackboard did. And so that can create confusion. And the only way to fix it is to delete the assignment and start over, because Canvas will allow students to do the work individually when you didn't want them to. I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to click Save. And the last part is editing pages. So this is usually, pages are the most open-ended. You can do the most creative content delivery in these spaces. So what I usually recommend is that you come up with the pattern and the just repetitive formatting on the first page, and then you can duplicate it and fill in the information as you move forward. So if we look at our view all pages, I'm going to have a lot, right? Goes all the way down the page. I'm scrolling and scrolling. I do have a lot. So I don't usually work from this area. I usually click on modules and work within the module space. And you're going to see I'm going to split my screen again. And I'm going to have my modules on one side, and I'll end up putting whatever I'm working on specifically, I'll end up opening it on the other side. So I usually work with a split screen. So let's take a look at these particular pages. You've noticed I unpublished a couple of things in my course orientation. There's going to be some description and overview placeholder, school and department policies about your instructor. There's going to be some space here that you might want to use. And all of this information in my course info module here can fit nicely into these pages. And then I can sort of minimize what's a really long module into less. But that's really up to you and how you want to organize and deliver that info to your students. As long as it's in a way that they can easily understand, you'll be good to go. Now, I'm going to actually minimize these, and we're going to take a look at an actual content module. And we're not really worrying about the module box in itself. I just want to take a look at some of this information. And so what I'm looking at is case 15 has asynchronous activities as well as synchronous. And there's just a lot of links that would be better off on a page of information, which is where the 15.1 and 15.2 expectations and resources page comes into play. So that would be, you could click the edit button on this expectations and resources page. And 15.1 is going to occur on a particular class day. So this one says May 10th, 1901. Again, I have no idea how that happened because I'm pretty sure none of us were using Canvas back then, but you'd want to update it. I would honestly go in and maybe get us a little closer than having to click through. Let's see. There we go. If you just put your cursor in this space and type, you can get to the current year if you have any sort of weird 1901 references. Otherwise, I'm going to choose the date and time. So let's say that this class is at, I don't know, at 8 o'clock. I'm going to guess you guys know your schedule a little bit better, but I'm going to schedule this, and that this to do for expectations is for the class at 8 o'clock. Maybe I want to tell students when to start this. Maybe this is going to be the Friday at 8 p.m., the day before, like the weekend before class starts. It's really up to you, but this will pop up a to-do on their Canvas stream to guide them and just really influence their time management, hopefully a little bit if they're using the features. So on this page, you can see I could put quite a bit of information. I could have a category that would be for asynchronous, instead of just having everything for, laid out like this. I could put required presentations, I could put synchronous activities versus asynchronous activities. I really want to strive to putting the order of the page in the chronological order I expect students to work. So that's something to keep in mind. Usually starting with a checklist at the top and then moving forward with what you're ending up wanting them to actually turn in at the bottom. So I'm going to click save here, and that's where, really I feel like if you've been using Canvas, you're in a place where all that was probably review. And if you're new to Canvas, I'd love to have questions to guide me to show you what you're actually trying to accomplish. If you have any of those, ready and waiting.
Where is their Canvas stream? So when you set the to-dos within each page, on their end, where does that populate?
So the top right button, student view, will show us what happens on there. Like this is a view of what the student sees. I'm going to make it a little bit larger because if your window is small, stuff is on the bottom. And if your window is fully expanded, you're going to have this right-hand side useful stuff. So if you have this feature as faculty and they have this feature. So I'll show you the student first. You click view course stream, and then to-dos and the recent activity will pop up here. I don't have anything because I'm just building the course, but this does work once you get started. I'm going to leave the student view and show you, you also have an option. Went to home, and then you click view course stream right here. And it tells me some stuff because I'm the instructor in this course who's been building it. So this wasn't relevant to students until it's been published, and then students will actually see that activity start to happen. So that's a really good question.
And then you mentioned minimizing the module just to clean it up a little bit. Is that also reflected on the student's end, the way you set it, or is it up to them however they want to look at their modules?
So that's up to them. This expanding and minimizing is really just a way for you to not have to look at stuff you're working at, as you're working through. It's just a tip that way. They won't see, so I can show you, they won't see anything that doesn't have the green check mark. So that's really important. The publish button is going to be, there's layers. You can control publishing in your files. That's like the lowest level. Then you can control publishing on individual items such as pages, assignments, discussions, etc. You can control the next level up is the entire module. So I can say like, no, I don't want to release the whole thing. And then this will override everything that's in the module. They will not be able to see any of it. And then on top of that, even further, I've got the full course status, which is to publish the entire thing. Now, this does not control the things within the course. It's just going to publish the actual course to represent the dates you put in your settings. So if you've got May 7th at 12 a.m., the first date and time you want it to open, you got to make sure that you click publish on the homepage for that date to work.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of good things to think about, lots of little tweaks and lots of control over how it behaves. So I will tell you that you've probably noticed you get to all the individual stuff through a direct link. So, right, I can go to my whole list of pages by going to pages, and I can see all of this. This is alphabetical. I don't control the order. It's going to pull by the title. So when you're working in your modules, and your module's that empty box that you can collect whatever stuff you want to put inside the module, when you're doing that, just think about how it will affect the behavior of alphabetical order on a page. So for example, yesterday I worked with the School of Pharmacy. And so I was talking to them about ways to organize their information. And they have 4 threads. They went through like pharmacology, chemistry, therapeutics, and pathology, right? So every exam has 4 threads of topics. Well, if you do, case 15 with those 4 threads, you can only choose a page name that's unique. So I can't have case 15 with pathology, case 16 with pathology. I have to have a unique identifier. And so that way, that's why the whole 15.1, 15.2, that really helps. And then when you go to your pages area, it also puts it in order. So everything for 15 is going to be together. If you reverse it, so let's say you wanted to do pathology for case 15, then the pages would be all organized by pathology together, and then numerically down, 15, 16, 17. So it's just sort of something to think about. The naming conventions affect the behaviors of certain areas of the course. Whereas here, I can put it in whatever order I want. I get to control that. I don't get to control it everywhere else. So really good questions. Are there any concerns or questions with opening up and working within a page? I had yesterday somebody asked, how do I control the size of an image that's on the page? When you go to insert an image, you have the choice to upload from your computer or choose some that are in here. I'm just going to come in here and pick one. So physical therapy might have some interesting pictures. And then I say, I like this one, and I can put it on the page. Well, it's giant, and that's not very useful to anyone. If you select the picture and go to image options, you control the size. You can either do predetermined, or you can customize and then actually pick the aspect ratio. Like, let's say I wanted it to be 500 by 333. It's gonna keep the ratio preserved. So you only have to pick one number and then say done. And then it will resize it. There's also, where you come to embed multimedia, embed codes. So that's important. It's one of the most commonly used, especially for YouTube videos. Any questions about?
I saw that there's multiple ways to insert the YouTube. You could just put the link, or you can use, I don't know the correct term. There's that plugin where you find it and it embeds it. Is there a best practice there? Is it just whether you want it to show up on your page or whether you want a link? I'm just curious about the difference between the two.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good question. And I have strong best practices on it. I would say it depends on what you're asking your students to do. So if you want them to explore a YouTube playlist that has multiple videos, putting the link to send them out to look at all of the collection would make sense. But for the most part, if you want them to watch something specific, putting the embed code, they can stay right there. They can push play, they can make it full screen, and they never have to leave class. So absolutely just depends on what you want them to be doing.
Okay.
But they all work equally well. So just so you know, the only difference between grabbing the YouTube embed code versus using the plugin option here where you view all and go down to YouTube is the size that it puts it on the page. This way is it's just slightly larger than the embed code. It's very minor, but they both work the same way.
Melissa, does one way or the other use up more memory in your course shell?
None of them do. So any links to external places or embeds that are housed elsewhere don't affect the size of your course whatsoever.
Okay, so embedding doesn't mean you're putting it in the course. You're embedding a link within that page.
Correct. And it's just embed is a short way to say all of the fancy code that makes it work.
Okay.
And to be clear, the embed code that you grab for any video platform is not the same as just copying and pasting the URL link. They're two different things. Typically, it'll be found in a share button. So I know if you go to YouTube, you hit share, it'll give you an embed option here. And that's what you need to paste in that little cloud icon. So yeah, right there, embed. Different than, so embed just kind of has all the kind of the fancy code ordeal, just copying and pasting that. Different platforms such as YouTube, Stream, Vimeo, these different platforms have some quirks to their embed code. So like YouTube will give you the option to show the player controls. Vimeo has some other quirky options, and so does Stream. So either way, you're just essentially linking outside of Canvas, so you're not taking up any space in the course, as Melissa had stated.
Yes, so I just opened up a video I had saved. You can either grab the link, which will make them leave Canvas to watch it, or you can get the embed code, which I recommend. And you just usually like, I mean, you have some options, what John was mentioning. So if I don't want them to watch until, you know, the five minute mark, I can control that and it will start where I want them. And then of course you can, you know, just do a couple of other things here. I'm going to close this and go back. And when I clicked this embed option, it just gives me a place to paste that code there. And then of course, when I save it, you can see it just plays right here on the page. Yeah, that's another really good question. Those are the most common things that we talk about on pages. I will say that, you know, naming them, it's very important that you name your pages what you want to call them, because renaming them can create some issues with linking in modules. So oftentimes you can rename a file in your file structure and it will update the link, but if you've named it something funny, it may not make sense anymore. So like there's that, kind of have to think about the consequences of what you're choosing down the road. But when you rename a page, it oftentimes you know, will break the link for where you had it. And so it's just not a best practice. Just choose your names wisely and don't decide to change them. All really good questions. I will say, I'm going to come over here and I will mention, so, you know, adding this information, getting your announcements, discussions, and pages set up in your course, that's really going to prep you for what we'll talk about next week. which is going into doing all of our graded assignments, setting up our grade book. You really, I want to say this with just a little bit of caution. You may need to edit your pages after you finish setting up your assignments, right? Because you may want to put some links to them there. But the more you can get chunked and out of the way with setting up where they're going to go, that's going to help a lot. And then the following topic after that is going to be setting up your module structures. And so having all of those components to be able to combine them and put them where they go, you'll be really, really, really close to done.
Melissa, I remember an email that came out. I don't remember when it came out, but it was something about using icons or little images either in pages, and an issue with that. And I'm asking it because I'm copying over modules from other courses as we build the new summer semester. And I'm seeing some of those icons and images. Can you remind me what that was?
Absolutely. So I just went into my dashboard to the Canvas overview and resources course with the brain on it. Those emails you're getting are actually announcements coming from this course. So every time somebody asks me a question that I think other people might benefit from, I do try to put it in here just to kind of give, more broad communication. So that particular one was do not use special characters in the title of graded assignments. And that's because that it can create a problem with the gradebook functionality. So as long as it's just text in various places, you're fine to have the icons. But when you come into your assignments, when you name an assignment in the title, you just want to avoid special characters here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a great question.
And where are those icons coming from? I couldn't, where's the option to add in those
So
cute images?
they are actually, I'm like, I don't even know where they came from. I had to Google them. So
I mean, because I've been seeing these check marks on faculty courses, and I have no idea where they're coming from.
well, if you see them, you can copy it and you can put it
Yeah.
wherever you want. So that's number one. That's how
Right.
I did it.
Okay.
I used the example course and then I stole them. And then I also have, hold on, I'm gonna open up a sandbox. I think I have some copied there as well. I might.
There's an announcement in one of the sandbox courses that had all of them in it, and I've copied and pasted a couple of them from that announcement, because I
Okay.
like to use them when I'm setting up my module page. Yeah, there they
Yeah.
are.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can also just, I mean, if you Google like green check mark copy
You
paste,
can just copy
you-
that in there. Okay.
quite literally, yeah, it's just a
Okay.
piece of text on the internet that just looks a little different. I did that when helping the courses and whatnot.
Just to keep in mind, you just can't do it with images. Images, you would have to upload and insert an image. So these are specifically these function as text, even though they're graphic in nature. Whereas image icons are different and they do not function the same way. So yeah, no, this is a good reminder that I put an announcement about that in the course. I had forgotten. There's a lot of announcements. There's a lot of tips, a lot of great ideas circling around, and then,
Perfect. Thank you.
absolutely. So yeah, these announcements have been, representative of the piloteer experience when something comes up, and having to think through how that might be affecting other people. And of course, some of it's going to become outdated as we're moving through. Like we had manual importing of exam soft grades at one point because we were told by the vendor, you can't do it in Blackboard and Canvas. And then the vendor changed their mind and said, wait, we'll turn it on for you. And so then that changed. So there's definitely more emails going out, trying to make sure everybody's up to date, keeping everybody informed. I feel like last week I had so much I had to talk about crammed into one little session, and the rest of the sessions are not like that so much. Grades next week might be a little bit more dense just because it can be, you know, everybody has gradebook questions because you all want to set up your gradebook differently, but it's still, after last week, none of these are all that heavy. Well, I am happy to stick around to answer any questions that you have for the rest of the hour. I've absolutely dedicated this time to you. So if you want to talk about something, I am here. I'm going to just stop the recording for this particular session, and then